In loving memory of Joshua Glenn, Madeline Riley, Nicole Massa, Ethan Saya, Ariana Ortiz, Yuki Schwab, Christopher Bruno, Julia Disco, Christina Chang, Brett O'Brien, Jason Procaccini, Liam Holbert, Sarah Kelly, DJ Ganelli, Rebecca Henderson, Edward Sock, Riley Dreisbach, and Jack Padini.
Students and staff, thank you for joining us this afternoon. A lot has happened over the past 2 days. Yesterday, 18 students and 2 staff members died. Their iPads and phones were taken away, leaving their texts, Snapchats, and Instagrams unchecked. After school ended, the group traveled to the Best Western Hotel, where additional activities took place. The group listened to Dr. Kimberly Boren, who spoke about the relationships that define us. Later that night, the students wrote emotional goodbye letters to their mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, friends and family. This allowed them to show their appreciation towards their loved ones. We were lucky to have a few students to share their letters today. This assembly marks the end of our journey, where we can mourn and honor those who we lost. Here's Gavin with a recap of the last 24 hours.
You know, it's really impossible to convey the emotions that took place behind the scenes of what just happened here. First, the students' individual death announcements was read to the class while they were being carried out on a stretcher while being accompanied by the Grim Reaper. The student had absolutely no form of communication, not with their friends or family. Their phones and iPads were taken away while their faces were painted white. After this, they returned to class but were unable to talk to anyone for the rest of the day. They would walk down the halls in silence with a grim look on their face, not able to show a sign of emotions to the people they grew so close to over the years. This showed the students' peers, teammates, coaches, and teachers what it would be like to go through their day without them, even though it was only for a short period of time. The students' lack of communication hit those around them with the resounding impact of what it would be like to miss them. After school was over, the students were sent to a hotel, still without any form of communication with their friends and family.
Nicole Massa,
Eddie Sott,
Jack Padini, Jason Procaccini,
Ariana Ortiz,
Ethan Saya,
Chris Bruno,
Brett O'Brien,
Yuki Schwab,
DJ Ganelli,
Julia Disco,
Riley Dreisbach,
Becca Henderson,
Joshua Glenn, Maddie Riley,
Sarah Kelly, Liam Holbert,
Welcome to the Days of Realization, where every 15 minutes a student dies.
After a night of drinking in Mountainside on a warm spring night, Nicole Massa decided to go swimming for the first time this year.
Jason Procaccini loved to listen to music and was annoyed at what was on the radio that night. He pulled out his phone to plug it into the auxiliary cord and put on his own music. He was not paying attention and ran a stop sign. After drinking too much, Ethan Saya was fooling around with his friends and as a joke jumped in front of his friend's car.
On Friday night, Eddie Stott and his friends were drinking at their friend's house across town. They also had decided to vape using a friend's pen. Jack Padini and DJ Ganelli had just won another baseball game at GL. To celebrate, they stole a couple of beers from their fridge and decided to head into Summit to make a night of it. When he stopped at a red light, he was rear-ended by a drunk driver who was going 70 miles per hour.
Another driver, who had the right of way, collided with Jason. His car rubbed against a fence and sparks flew. The sparks landed and spilled into the spilled gas from his car and created an explosion in the engine of his car. His friend failed to stop in time and accidentally ran Ethan over. While going to her friend's car, Sarah was hit by someone who was texting and driving and did not see her.
Maddie Riley and her friends were at a party when her friends started pressuring her to have a beer. Instead of waiting to call a friend, Riley decided that she was okay to drive and proceeded to the car. Josh survived the initial car accident since he was wearing a seatbelt, but was later pronounced dead at the hospital.
Both of them were badly injured and later died at the scene before paramedics arrived. Due to debris flying hundreds of miles per hour, Jason was impaled in the head and was considered brain dead under New Jersey law.
Riley was not paying attention to the road and crashed the car into a telephone pole. Paramedics arrived at the scene shortly after, with their friend still alive. En route to Overlook Hospital, Becca was pronounced dead. Riley was still alive, but she died shortly after due to her injuries.
She died 48 hours later when her parents made the difficult decision to take her off life support.
As part of the Days of Realization program, last night after we watched the presenter, all the students and teachers who participated in this event wrote a goodbye letter to their friends and family. And I would like to take this moment to thank all of you for your moving words after such a long and emotional day. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and for being a part of this program. We have asked 6 DOR students as well as 1 Trent Executive Board member and 1 teacher now to share their letters with the rest of the student body. At this time, I would like to invite Maddie Riley to the stage to share her letter. Thank you.
Where do I even begin to say goodbye to all the people who made my life so special? I'm having so much trouble starting to get the words out and finding a way to let go of the adventures I've gone on, the people I've met, and reflecting on all those who I will miss so dearly. We tend to believe we have forever, and it's daunting to know and understand that we don't. Mom, when I think of those who have encouraged me, cheered me on, comforted me, how could I not think of you first? I truthfully don't know how I got so lucky to have a mother like you. I know this is so unbelievably hard on you, and I'm the most sorry for letting you down. I know you always thought so high of me, and making you cry is one of the most devastating thoughts that comes to mind when saying goodbye. I say I love you so often sometimes that I feel it's lost its intense and overwhelming meaning. But Mom, I love you, and I could say it a million times over, and it still wouldn't undo all the pain I've now caused in your life going forward. Being apart from my sister was never normal to me. To think about all the times we've shared or laughs we burst out on the floor from reminds me of how she's not only just a sister to me, but also a best friend. It is so clear that you were made to be an older sister. I'm just so happy things worked out the way they did and you became mine. I'm so sorry, Juliet. Please always remember what you did for me. Thank you for everything you've done. Pure joy comes to mind when thinking of my dad. Our close relationship and our unbreakable bond is one every little girl dreams of having with their dad. I'm so sorry to make you feel as though you went wrong in your parenting. Please know that you didn't. I love you, Dad, and I will miss you in every way. To my friends since forever, Bailey, Izzy, Maddie, Christina, Catherine, thank you for making me feel so good about myself and for the very specific ways you made our friendship so sweet. Bailey for showing me to stand up for what I believe in, Izzy for letting me come over and pet her dogs whether I was happy, sad, angry, lonely, and always putting a smile on my face after it all, Maddie for making me feel like I can do anything, Christina for showing me kindness never goes out of style, lastly for Catherine. You have been my longest lasting friendship, and I wouldn't have it any other way. No matter what, I knew I could always come back to you, and I'm so sorry our memories growing up will be cut off so short. To all my friends and classmates and teammates, seeing your faces as a constant in my life every day was always wonderful. I'm sorry for saying goodbye so early and for being unable to graduate next to people who have made me smile, very likely at least one time or another. Now finally for the goodbye, I am very much dreading. Governor Livingston Hilltop Players was everything to me. And if I was given the chance to do this life all over again, I would still do theater in an instant. The constant love, support, friendship, dependability has made me feel alive. The Hilltoppers are a group of individuals who I cannot speak more good things about. Thank you, Ms. Tallarico, Mr. Maselli, and Mr. E for making it all fall together so perfectly. If it wasn't for these adults and many other inspirational leaders who've influenced me throughout my little lifetime, I would have not been the same person or even close. I want my legacy in this world to be that whenever people think of me, they think of happy thoughts. I'm sorry to those I've let down, made cry, disappointed, or feel empty. I'm going to miss this special life so much. Please remember me forever. I'm so sorry.
I would now like to introduce Josh Glenn, who's going to read his letter.
I'm terrified. I don't want to say goodbye. I never do. Death is the hardest thing to accept, especially your own. The idea that I am not here now is terrifying. I first faced death when my grandpa died. It was cold, hollowing. The emptiness I felt from his death, I always carried that with me. Now that I am gone, I have to accept that I may take from someone a part of them. I may give them that hollowness, and that truly upsets me because I would never wish that upon my worst enemy. Now I must say goodbye. First and most importantly, my mom. What I feel for you is beyond words. What have you not given me? You gave me life, you gave me happiness, you gave me your shoulder to cry on. You gave me love when no one would talk to me. You gave me peace of mind when I was scared. You gave me everything I could have hoped for. Now writing this to you, I can't imagine my life without you. The fact I will never get to hug you, never get to hear your voice again, never get to hear you ask, how's your day, ever again, destroys me. I want to tell you sorry for all the things that I fought with you about, all the times I betrayed your trust, all the times I didn't tell you goodnight or hug you goodbye or didn't tell you I love you. I'm sorry, but that will never be enough. Thank you. I will miss you more than anything, more than anyone on this earth. I love you. Dad, thank you. Thank you for your hard work every single day. It is beyond soul-crushing to have to tell you goodbye. Everything you gave me was more than I could ever imagine, more than anything I could hope for. Thank you for being there every morning to wake me up for school and make me breakfast for me on the weekends. Thank you for coaching my sports, even though I never really wanted to play. Thank you for driving me late at night home from my grandma's house. Thank you for taking me on vacations to places I could never dream of. I'm so sorry I didn't hug you as much as I should have. I will miss you, and I love you so unbelievably much. To my siblings, Noah, Zachary, Sophie, and Leah, thank you all for such beautiful memories. I love each and every one of you so much. Noah, I know one day you will direct a beautiful film. Zachary, thank you for always letting me win in our play fights when we were kids. Sophie, I know you will be on Broadway one day. Leah, I know you are too young to remember me well. I want you to know I will always believe in whatever you want to do. My siblings, thank you for all our vacations. Thank you for annoying me and for nagging me and for fighting with me. I love you all, and you have no idea how much I will miss you. Grandmas, Judy and Betty, thank you for your wisdom and your kindness and your love. Grandma Judy, I will miss all our talks about books and politics and philosophy. You always brought me articles to read, and I always love reading them. Grandma Betty, thank you for being so adventurous and fun-loving. I will miss our ski runs and times at the beach. I love you both so much, and I will miss you forever. Jillian, my beautiful girlfriend, I love you so much. I'm so sorry to leave you. What words are there to describe how much I love you, how much I will miss you, or how much I owe you? There's nothing I can say to amount to my love for you. Our memories are made of gold, and I hope you keep me in mind whenever you go to a park or when you wear the clothes I gave you. I will always love you, and I will most certainly miss you. Friends, they always come and go, but there are some that are there with you forever. Zach Lemberg, Ethan Jaffe, I owe both of you everything. All of the memories you gave me, I will forever be grateful to you, and I love you both. Caitlin, thank you for always being there for me. To laugh, to vent, to talk to about my problems, thank you so much for all that you gave me. To my lunch tables, Catalina, Aiden, Hannah, thank you so much for all our jokes and conversations. Sarah, Jakata, Noah, Heather, thank you for accepting me and listening to me. Jamie, Mark, Maddie, Allie, Bella, Nicole, Shay, Bree, Iman, Constance, Alex, thank you all. I will miss you all. To Mr. Corn, Mrs. Taurico, Mrs. Chiroka, thank you for inspiring me. I will miss you all. To the kids that listened to me on Twitter when no one else did, Matt, Christian, Allie, Gigi, Grace, Zoe, Vic, everyone else, you know who you are. Thank you. Even though I may not have mentioned your name, I promise you, I will miss you all. If you ever wanted to talk to me, I'm sorry we never got the chance to speak. I wish you all so well. I'm sorry. I don't know if I will be missed by anyone. I just know that I will miss you all. I felt like I was missing something this whole time. I wanted to have kids, a family, a wife, a mortgage even. Some things we never really fully appreciate in life. I wanted to go places, meet people, write music. I wanted to show the world that I was worth something. Now I realize that it is you all that make me what I am worth. I'm guilty of not telling you all I love you. Life is too fast. People move around too fast. I guess it's kind of like a car crash. 1 minute you're doing 70, and the next moment you've collided. Life cut short. I hope you all feel as though I've given you as much as I feel you have all given me. There are no more ways I could say what I want. No matter how many times I write, no matter what I say, it will never be enough. I wish you all well, happiness, love. I'm with my grandpa now. Goodbye.
Thank you. I would now like to call up DJ Ganelli to the stage.
Dear, all my loved ones, I messed up. One simple mistake was not only ended my life, but changed yours forever. Simple daily tests are no longer simple. They are gone. The I love yous before bed or simple have a good day is no more. The countless things you all have done for me cannot be thanked enough. Dad, you've seen me at my best and at my worst. The countless hours spent cannot be matched. Honestly, everything you do may not seem like they can get overlooked at times, yet I want to tell you that they don't. You getting up at 3 in the morning to help support our family is flat out amazing. The simple fact that you operate off 3 or no hours of sleep at times just to give us an amazing life is unbelievable. And the fact that you've seen me mad at the world, wanting to give up, but you still staying there, never leaving my side. The fact that people have, do, and will overlook me, but you still call me one of the best people you've ever met means the world. Truly, I look up to you and wish to be half the man you are. The simple thought of having somewhere else in that role breaks my heart. Thank you. Mom, you're my rock. When everything seems to be at the end, you turn it around. From going through everything that you did and still being the woman you are is unspeakable. You are the most beautiful woman I've ever met. Nothing could ever compare how much I love you. I'm sorry. Danielle, you seem to always be there when I need someone the most. When I'm about to break down and go in a bad direction, you've saved me countless times. From something as simple as following all my games when you're 2 hours away always speaks loudly. You mean everything to me. Thank you. Lexi, it seems like I could talk to you about anything. From being at my side every day, willing to go to battle with me over anything is amazing. The fact about those late night talks cannot happen anymore breaks my heart. The fact that I can't watch you grow up and be better than me and Danielle breaks my heart. You're the most talented out of all of us, and I don't think you realize that. Without you, our family wouldn't have been completed. Lex, I love you, and no one can take that away. Mama, I couldn't imagine having anybody else in my life with that role. From being there since the start and never looking back is unbelievable. You have arguably kept me on my path to my future. Thank you. The fact that I can no longer look across the table on Sunday and see you there breaks my heart. I'm sorry, no grandma should ever see their grandson die. Papa, I love you. Since you were gone, the past 6 years breaks my heart. You fueled my athletic career to where it is now. Now I'll sit up there with you looking over everyone. I know it's too soon. Grandma Trudy, I'm sorry. I don't see you enough or talk to you as much as I should. It burdens me every day. Words cannot describe how bad I feel. From seeing you at your highs and at your lows health-wise opens my eyes. You're beautiful, and keep fighting. Grandpa Donald, I know we weren't together long, but we were best friends, like two peas in a pod. We may not have many memories, but the ones that we do are great. Not having you for most of my life was hard, but we played the hand we were dealt. I love you. Delilah, I know you passed away a couple months ago, but you single-handedly changed my life. Who would ever thought that a dog could do so much? You would comfort me when I was at my lows and be right there with me when I was at my highs. You have saved me several times from spiraling downhill. I love you. At least we're together again. Matt, it seems like we've been paired together forever. You and me and you. That's how it always was. We were inseparable, and now that's gone. I ruined it. The endless memories are halted. I can no longer see you do your thing at Rutgers and tear it up. That breaks my heart. I love you, bro. It means more. You mean more to me than you know. Jack Padini, I love you, kid. These endless hours together are gone. I screwed up. We truly are brothers. Nothing less would be true. It seems like we would fight over something stupid, then be fine 2 minutes later. You constantly drive me to be better every day, and you provide more comfort than you think. To know that you're there day in and day out was extra confidence in myself. I'm sorry I messed up. Jack Ziska, I've known you forever. Me and you have been together since first grade. It seems like it was yesterday. Not gonna lie, it killed a little bit to see you go to Seton Hall. To know that I'd never go to school and play baseball with you again messed with me. I'm sorry, I messed up. I love you, bro. Ava, you've been like another sister to me my whole life. No matter what I've done, you've been at my side. I don't get to say it enough as I should. Just know that you've changed my life. No matter where, no matter what, in any battle, you've been on my side. Thank you, Ava. Next, to all my friends, words can't describe how much you've changed my life. Jack, Sam, Eddie, Brian, Brendan, Greg, and all the girls, thank you. From simple things like seeing you at my games and hanging out on summer nights was more than you think. I'm sorry to have messed that up, but thank you. Next, the Padinis. You've taken me in like a son. From being there through thick and thin and never turning your back on me, thank you. Words cannot be put into place the impact you all have had on me. I love you all. Lastly, the Ziskas. From endless laughs to another set of figures in my life, you all have helped guide me. You two have treated me like a son. For that, thank you. I'm sorry to have messed this all up. Thank you for everything. To everyone, thank you. My life was ended by one stupid move. If one person can learn from this, this was all worth it. Again, everyone I have hurt, I'm sorry. No matter how much I write, it wouldn't be enough. Love, DJ.
Thank you, DJ. I would now like to call up Sarah Kelly to the stage to read her letter.
You never know how much you want to still say until you never really know how much you still want to say to people until you can't. The day before I died, I barely spoke to my family because I left the house before they woke up. I wish I had seen them before I left because there's still so much to say. First, to my mom, I'm so sorry. You were the reason I was going to nursing school. You were the reason I chose to go into healthcare, and you were the reason I believed I could have done it. Seeing the endless compassion you have for your patients made me see how rewarding my future could have been. The way you balance family and work inspired me to not only get a job, but to start a career. Through the college applications process, you took me on all my visits. When I made my decision, you were just as excited as I was. I knew it was the right choice when we went shopping for apparel, and you said the Pitt colors looked perfect on me. Mom, everything I wanted to be was because of you. Dad, I might not have said it enough, but I really loved you. From the time I was young, you taught me how to believe in myself. When I played soccer, you saw me as the star. When I started basketball, you learned all the rules so you could give me pointers on the way home. When I did high jump, you came to all my track meets, even though they went on all day. You always showed up for me, Dad. And I said I didn't care, but I really did. The encouragement you gave me helped me see myself the way you did. Finally, to my brother, Harrison, we both changed so much over the years. We used to fight, but in the end, I saw you as a best friend. I was so excited to see you start looking at colleges and find a major. I wish I was here to help you apply, and I wish I could have celebrated your acceptances with you. I wanted you to come to my family visitation weekend so I could have shown you the school that I loved so much. I wish I could be there to visit the school you choose as well. And most of all, I loved watching you grow up, and I wanted to continue to see you succeed. I saw the dedication you put into wrestling, and I enjoyed coming to all of your matches to cheer you on, no matter how far they were. I loved driving with you to the gym or to school and showing each other our new music. I always denied it, but you probably had better songs than me most days. Harrison, I loved you. We didn't say it often because we didn't really have to, but now that I'm saying goodbye, I really want you to know it. After dying, I realized everything I wanted to tell my family. I should have spent more time with you, with all of you. I should have eaten more family dinners, and most of all, I should have told you that I loved you before I left that morning.
I would now like to call up Kelly Donfield to share her letter.
Hi, my name is Kelly Donfield, and I'm a member of the Trend Executive Board. For the past months, we have been working on Days of Realization, and I started to feel a special connection to the message that was being portrayed. With that being said, I decided to take it one step further and write a goodbye letter to see how it feels from both sides of the spectrum. The viewpoint as a member of the board and the viewpoint of a Days of Realization student. Here is my goodbye letter. Everyone has hopes, dreams, and goals. Everyone wants the opportunity to live a happy, healthy, and successful life. Yet everyone also has the opportunity to make their own decisions, good or bad. As a normal human being, you are prone to make mistakes. That's what life is all about, learning from the mistakes you make and improving upon them. The worst part is that you may not be able to fix those mistakes. You simply cannot just press a rewind button and fix what you did. The decisions you make on a daily basis each have their own set of consequences. I lost my chance to live, to thrive, and to be successful. To my loving mother, who was there every step of the way, you went to every soccer and basketball game just to scream my name from the sidelines. You listened to me complain about boys and comforted me when I was down. One of my favorite memories with you would be my kindergarten graduation. You took me to Color Me Mine to paint something special to commemorate my achievement. We ended up making a bowl to hold an assortment of fruits. I had the time of my life. The bowl is still in the kitchen, inscribed with Kelly's kindergarten graduation, signed Mommy and Kelly, along with the date. If only I could read that bowl one more time. The memories we had together makes it so much harder for me to say goodbye. I'm sorry we cannot make any more memories together. I love you, Mom, and I'm thankful for everything that you did for me. I wish I could have grown up to show you how successful I would have been, thanks to all of your help. Goodbye, Mom. I will miss you the most. To Kate and Claire, my two older sisters, I always wanted to tell you how much I appreciated the both of you. Yet I never wanted to show you I was vulnerable because we all know everything between us was a competition. I truly did love you too. Kate, you were the one who taught me that being different is okay, that perfection did not exist, that I was great just as I was. I will never forget the time you snuck Claire and I downstairs in the middle of the night with baby powder. You poured the baby powder all over the living room floor so we could pretend that we were ice skating. Once Mom and Dad came down, they were not happy with you. You were our ringleader. But the smiles on their faces were so wide they could not help but laugh at what we had just done. Thank you, Kate, for being my role model and an amazing big sister. I will miss you more than you could imagine. I thought you leaving for college would be my hardest goodbye, but I was wrong. Goodbye. To Claire, my competitor. First of all, I'm sorry I stole all your clothes. But in all seriousness, thank you for everything. You pushed me to be the best soccer player I could be. From playing 1v1 in the front yard where it got so intense that Mom could not even watch us play, to our drives up to PDA for soccer practice, blasting the music so loud that our voices became lost and the stereo was broken. I do not know what I would have done without you. I wish I could see you now for one last time to tell you I love you. Goodbye, Claire. I wish you the best with college and soccer. I always hoped that you, Kate, and I could spend our holidays all together when we were all grown up and had our own children. Unfortunately, now that is not an option. I'm going to miss you more and more every single day. Dad, thank you for always letting me have any of my friends over at any given moment. From the spontaneous sleepovers to the insane mall trips, there was never a moment I did not love being with you. I will never forget the daddy-daughter dance. I was wearing a pink dress with polka dots and a pink ribbon in my hair. As for you, you had a black suit jacket with a tie to match my dress. I remember vividly dancing on the top of your shiny dress shoes, and once we got tired, we sat down and ate way too many chicken fingers. To my dad, the man I will always look up to, I love you, and I wish we could have spent one last moment together. I'm sorry. Finally, goodbye to my best friends, the ones who made me laugh so hard I could cry, the ones who always knew how to push my buttons just right, the ones who had my back when someone said something mean, and of course, the ones who I spent every day, every weekend, and every hour with. Please do not stop being yourselves, because that is the one thing I cherished about each and every one of you. I love you all to the moon and back. Please stay strong. I will miss you. Goodbye. I never realized the little things like Color Me Mine with my mom or playing soccer with Claire would just vanish with a blink of an eye. I took my life for granted. I could have done this. I should have done this. I wish I had done that are the constant things that I think today. The only thing I can do now is to urge you to not make the same mistake that I did. Please appreciate all of life, the good, the bad, the happy, and the sad. Enjoy your life while you can, and always try to make the best decisions. Thank you.
I would now like to call Becca Henderson to the stage to read her letter.
It was September, then it was January, now it's April. April 19th to be exact. Not only the day I died, but my sister Caroline's birthday. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry to have to put you through this a third time this year. 3 deaths within our family, 2 from alcohol-related events. My Uncle Tommy was one of the greatest men I had ever met. He showed me how to stick up for myself, and he taught me how to be brave. He was an amazing man, but got involved with the wrong choices. His alcohol addiction eventually led him to his death, and I remember seeing the pain reach my father's eyes when he learned of his brother's passing. Dad, I can't even begin to imagine what your eyes look like now. And Mom, just the other day, I left a picture of the 2 of us that I found in a scrapbook on your spot in the kitchen, and you cried. I hate to leave you now, Mom. I remember you had told my 5th grade teacher once that I was your guardian angel. Although I will be there no longer, remember that song I used to sing to you when I was little. Look at those letters I wrote to you. I'll forever miss our long chats and our goodnight texts when I'm away. Never forget our secret language that stood for I love you. I know we will both get pretty busy, but always know I'm looking after you, and I'm still your guardian angel. I'm your rock, and you are mine, and don't ever forget it. To you, Dad, I know you try to act tough, but let's face it, you've got a big heart. We've always been a team, you and I. We work well together. When Mom and Caroline go to bed, you're always the one to stay up late with me until I finish my homework. I recently went into your office the other day, and I saw all the pictures up of me you had and the projects I've made over my 18 years of life. Although you tend not to share many of your emotions, I know when you're having a bad day, so I give you a hug. Those are what I'm gonna miss the most. Our hugs that don't happen every day, but when they do, they mean the world. Both you and Mom showed me how to love, care, and forgive. I know you're strong, Dad, so be Mom's rock when she's sad. I know there's one person right now who probably is surrounded by a puddle of tears. She's my Aunt Carol, a woman who has a soul that shines as bright as the sun. She's my backbone. She's the reason why I love Disney so much. I know I get embarrassed when you give me hugs, but guess what? I could really use one right now. And lastly, to my friends, there's so many reasons why I love you so much. To my little sister, AKA Caroline, you're like my baby sister who I love to take care of. Never forget our keychains and our love for Just Dance. Remember all my friends to sing loud and dance proud, especially Michelle. My message to everyone is to enjoy every moment you get, because you don't know what you got till it's gone. Thank you.
I'd now like to call up Liam Holbert to the stage.
First off, I had a wonderful life, the best anyone could ask for. I've always felt love no matter where I was. I wouldn't trade any of it if I had the choice. To my mom, you had always done everything you could to ensure I was being the best person I could possibly be. Time after time, you impressed me with your ability to do whatever was needed to be done to give me the best life I could possibly have. You were the strongest woman I knew, and I respected the hell out of you. Day after day, you busted your butt for me, and that was more than I could ever ask for. You always made me feel loved unconditionally, and I can only hope you know the love was mutual. To my dad, I was never good with words, and I never felt as though you knew what you meant to me. You were always a huge influence on me through cars and music, but mostly character. Your ability to make everyone around you feel loved is something I envy. I appreciated the hard work and sacrifices you made for me my whole life, and the love that you showed me after countless mess-ups on my part is unbelievable. You and Mom have nothing to be sad for, because I could not have been happier with the life you both gave me. To my sister Claire, we had our differences, but you were always someone I could talk to and seek guidance from, and that really meant a lot to me. Thank you for your support. I love you. To my cousin Drew, having a family member that was also one of my best friends was truly incredible. We always found a way to have a good time, and the bond we had was unbreakable. Thank you for always being a bro. To my boy Will, you were always someone I could count on, someone I could share anything with, and that really means a lot to me. We had a ridiculous amount of good times, and even though a lot of them got us in trouble, I wouldn't change a thing. To my man Danny, you were someone I could easily connect with, I could always be myself around, and it really opened my eyes to see that life is too short to give a shit what other people think of you. Danny, Will, and Drew, Thank you for the laughs, adventures, and good times. You guys gave me some of the best memories of my life. I love you guys. To everyone else, I was here for a good time, not a long time. ELE, everybody love everybody, because you never know when it could all end.
I would now like to call up Mrs. Richards to share her letter.
To my husband, Jim, next week would have been our 31st anniversary. And while I'm sad that I won't be there, I'm so grateful for the 30 years we did have. Who would have thought that our friend Scott daring you to ask me out on a date would have turned into such a great life? We've always made a good team, whether it was raising our kids or supporting each other through career changes and losses. Our marriage really stood the test of time, though, when our son Brett passed. I could not have survived that without you. Thank you for being such a great husband and friend, and especially for supporting me when I thought it was a good idea to go back and get my master's at age 56. Even on my crabbiest days, you still loved me. I will miss you with all my heart. To my daughter, Heather, what a joy you've been to me. I will miss our girl time together, whether it was getting our nails done, going shopping, or just going for a walk. I'm so proud of what you're doing in your own English class with your middle school students. I saw how excited you got when you would talk about a particular lesson that went really well, and I will miss seeing that joy and passion on your face. I am sad that I will miss out on the chance to someday go wedding dress shopping with you, but I will be there in spirit when that day comes. In my mind, though, I will still always see the little ballerina with the pink tutu. To my son, Drew, what a terrific young man you turned out to be. I was always amazed by your passion for martial arts and physical fitness, and I am proud of what you are doing for all your kickboxing clients, encouraging them to do and be their very best physically. I am sad that I won't be there to watch you earn your bachelor's degree next year. I will miss our mother-son breakfasts, our long talks about faith, and the many laughs we've shared over silly things that no one else got, which made it that much funnier. I will always remember how much you hate the morning, yet every year on my birthday, you would wake up at 5:30 in the morning to make me breakfast. I will also remember what a gentleman you were, always opening the door for me or pulling out a chair. I am proud to call you my son. To my son, Brett, I miss you every day, but here we are, reunited in death. Even though you were only with us for 7 weeks, we could not have loved you more. This year would have been your 21st birthday, and I wonder what path you would have chosen. Would you have wanted to strengthen minds like your sister, or strengthen bodies like your brother? No matter, I would have been proud of you and loved you just the same. Finally, to my students, you are the reason I come to school every day. Thank you for letting me share in your lives, whether it was getting your license or committing to a college. Just know that the times I got angry with you were the times that I saw you were not pushing to reach your potential, and that behind my angry face were love and caring. I hope beyond teaching you Beowulf and Gatsby, I have modeled kindness and respect. I am sorry I can't finish the school year with you, but I hope you think of me every time you see Charlie Brown. I will miss you all, but you will all be in my heart. With love, Wendy, Mom, Mrs. Richards.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Maria Estevez, a victim advocate at the Union County Prosecutor's Office. She is also a volunteer advocate with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Mrs. Estevez is here today to share a personal story with us. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Listening to your letters really makes you think, and I commend you all for having the courage to write them. It's not easy to write a goodbye letter, and I also cried when you were reading them. And I'm sorry that I might make you cry too with the story that I will tell you. I placed this picture on the bottom of the podium so you could see the child that I'm going to talk to you about. Her name was Rosemary, and we called her Rosie. She was only 8 years old, and she was in the 3rd grade. The last day of her life was a Saturday. I had 3 children when I had Rosie. She was the middle child. My older son was 11, Rosie was 8, and my younger child, a girl, she was 4. That particular day when the children woke up, they knew, because I had told them, we're going to go to the bank and we're going to go open a savings account. All you needed was $1 to start off this savings account. So it was an exciting morning. The children got up, they got ready. We got in the car. We went to the bank. I still remember Rosie sitting on one of my legs and Amanda sitting on the other leg. When the branch manager came over with the documents, Rosemary actually signed her name on the signature card. And the children gave the woman the money. Rosie had $22. That's how much her bank account was open for. And then the manager came back with these 3 books and gave them to the children. And you can imagine how happy these kids were to know that they had a savings account. I had promised them that that every Saturday I would make a $5 deposit on their accounts. And I actually did keep that promise for 8 years. So that day started out really nice. After the bank, we had lunch, and then we went food shopping. And then it was getting to the end of the day. We were going home. I remember we were like a block away from the house. My husband had to make a right and then a quick left to get into the street. And as he was approaching the intersection, he said to me, "Did you forget anything, or are we going home?" So I was tired, so I said, "Let's go home." I wish that I had said to him, "Keep going. Let's go to the park. Let's go to the mall, somewhere else." But we went home. Home was a little boring. We rented an apartment. It was a 6-family house, 3 floors. Our apartment was on the 2nd floor. And right above me on the 3rd floor, I have a cousin who lived there with her 3 children as well, with her husband and her father. So her children were ages 12, 10, and 2. So when we got home, my son asked me permission if he could stay outside and play with his friends on the sidewalk. And I said, yeah. My younger daughter was asleep, so we took her inside. I put her in the couch. I turned on the TV. My husband said he was going next door to talk to the neighbor. And Mary asked me permission if she can go play with her cousins upstairs. The 12-year-old and the 10-year-old were girls. The 2-year-old was a little boy. So I said, yeah. She went upstairs. She came down, and she said, "Mommy, they're going to the store with their grandfather. Can I go with them?" The children's grandfather was our uncle, because we were all family. So I said, yeah, you can go. The store was only 2.5 blocks away from the house. As Rosemary went down the stairs, before she opened up the door to leave, I called out her name and I said, Rosie. And she looked up at me because I'm on the second floor. And she said, what, Mommy? And I said, be careful. This is a word that we all say to each other, to our friends, to our family, to the people we care. And I watched her leave. She looked happy. I still remember the expression on her face. She looked happy. Less than 10 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. It was the father of the other children, my cousin Tony. First, I thought it was, my son knocking on the door. But it was actually my cousin. So he said, you have to come quickly because Rosie was hit by a car. So I grabbed my coat, I grabbed my wallet because it had all my paperwork in there. And I left the little one still sleeping on the couch. My husband was next door, but I didn't think to knock on the door and tell him that our daughter was hit by a car. I locked the door, leaving the little one by herself asleep. I walked down the stairs, I opened the door, and as soon as I walked out, I ran. I ran those 2.5 blocks. And when I got close to the intersection, I could see my daughter. She was laying down on the ground. She was wearing the green coat I had bought her for Christmas. My younger daughter had the same coat, so it was kind of hard to see her wear it because her sister wasn't home anymore. So when I got to the intersection, I could see Rosie laying down on the ground. I didn't see the other children or my uncle, but there was a large crowd of people. And as I am getting close to her, I felt these two people grabbing me by the arms, and I was struggling with them to let me go because I wanted to go near my daughter. And I kept telling them, let me go, let me go. And it caught the attention of one of the 2 police officers that were there. And he walked up to me and he asked me, who are you? And I responded, I am that little girl's mother. And he said, she's alive. I need to ask you some questions. So he positioned himself in a way that I had to face him. So my back was towards my daughter. I answered all his questions. When he was done, I saw 2 ambulances arrive. And this is when I saw my uncle for the first time. He was directly across the street from Rosie, but I didn't see him. Now he's in the stretcher and he's about to be placed into the ambulance. And you have to imagine this. He's on my right and I'm looking down at him and his eyes are open. He's blinking them very rapidly. His face is covered in blood and his mouth is moving like he wants to say something, like he was talking, but the words just didn't come out. The sound didn't come out. So I don't know what he wanted to say, but I imagine that he probably was saying, I'm sorry that this happened. Then the ambulance took off. He died on the way to the hospital, so he was dead on arrival when he got there. In the meantime, the medics are still working on my daughter, and I'm looking at them. And one of them looks up to me and he says, do you want to go in the ambulance with your daughter? And I remembered, oh my God, my son and my younger daughter are home. They have no idea what's going on. And then I looked and I could see a man running on the street. It was my husband. Someone did go home and tell him that this has happened. So he was running and I told the medic, that man is her father and he'll go in the ambulance with her. So instead of going in the ambulance, the police officer put him in the back of the car and they took off. They went to my closest trauma center. This happened in Elizabeth, so my closest trauma center is UMDNJ in Newark, and that's where they went. After the ambulance left, I stuck around for a little while longer, and it seemed like I was there for a long time, but it really wasn't. I could hear the police officers because now there was more police officers and more police cars and more people in that intersection. And the officers were asking the people in the crowd, did you see anything? Did you see what happened? I remember this older man walking over to the police officer that was closest to me, and he said that he saw. So once I heard that, I left. I ran home. I got the keys to my car. Bad news travels really fast. My sister-in-law was already there in front of the house. I asked her to watch my children, And I walked over to my car, and then I realized I don't know where they went. I forgot to ask the medics and the police where they took them. So I looked very confused because I wanted to get there. I just didn't know where they went. So the guy that my husband had been talking to, he was watching me, and he walked up to me and he says, "Maria, get in my car. I'll take you there." Somehow he knew. He must have asked the right questions because he knew. So I got in his car, and I can't remember exactly if he took 109 or the local roads, but I know that he got to UMDNJ. He parked his car, and then we walked to the emergency room, and he told the nurse who I was. The nurse asked me to follow her, so I did. She took me to meet my husband, and you have to imagine this as well. He has his hands up like this, and he's looking through a window. And inside that room was our daughter. There was a whole bunch of doctors and nurses working on her. When they saw that I was looking, that I was outside looking through the window, a couple of them came out, and I asked, "How's my daughter?" And she said, "She's a very sick little girl." And I asked again, "But how's my Rosie? How's my daughter?" And she asked me, "Are you folks religious?" And I said, "Yeah, we're Catholic." And then she said, "I suggested you call your family priest." When somebody says that, you're supposed to know that something is really, really bad. But I didn't even think. I asked her for a third time, "But how's my daughter?" And then she said, "I am so sorry, but your little girl's not going to make it." And at that moment, my husband lost his balance and he fell on the floor, so the nurses were helping him up. I leaned against the wall. I'm looking up at the ceiling, at the lights, and automatically I start to ask God to let her live. I wanted her to live. I was 32 years old, so I already was married with 3 children, had a job, had a car, was saving money for a down payment on a house. I already had lived. She was only 8 years old, didn't even finish 3rd grade, and I wanted God to give her life. So I asked him to take my life and let her live, and I meant it. But he didn't do that. So then I asked the nurse about my uncle, and that's when she said, "I'm so sorry, but he had a heart attack in the ambulance, so he was dead on arrival." The nurse then showed us to the chapel, and we continued to ask God to let her live. Rosemary was bleeding profusely. She had lost a lot of blood. She was in a coma. She was already unconscious when she was on the ground on the street. She never woke up. She and I had the same blood type, so I told the nurse that she could take the blood right out of my body. And she goes, "No, all I need to do is sign these papers." So we signed every form that they gave us because we knew that they were working on her. They were going to do their best to make her live. Then we called the church. Nobody picked up the phone, but why would they? It was like Saturday night. It must have been around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening now, and there's nobody there. But somehow the priest found out because at 11 o'clock, he showed up at the hospital. But before that, when at 11 o'clock, my daughter was pronounced brain dead, the doctors did do everything they possibly could, but she was pronounced brain dead. They took her to a room where they hooked her up to all kinds of machines and a respirator because she was not able to breathe on her own. If you looked at her, she looked like she was asleep. But if you touched her body, she was really cold. When I told the nurse that she was really cold, she came back with this special blanket and put it underneath her, I guess just to make me feel better because they knew the Rosie wasn't coming back. But I needed to have good memories, and these people knew. The doctor came and talked to us, and he explained, how serious she was. He even asked us if we would give permission to donate her organs, at that time, I wasn't ready because I was still asking God to do a miracle to wake her up so she could come home. It didn't matter if it was a week or a month, but I wanted her to come home. So at that moment, we didn't say anything. Then the doctors told us that by law, when somebody is pronounced brain dead, they would have to wait 6 hours. And he would come back in the morning to do that test. So during the night, I called my brother and I asked him, go to my house, bring my children here. We want everybody to be together. Then my sister and her husband, they had been to all the hospitals like in Elizabeth. And finally somebody told them UMDNJ, so they showed up. And then other relatives showed up and some of my neighbors showed up. At one time there were so many people in that room that you would think that the nurses would kick them out, but they didn't. They allowed them to stay as long as they wanted to. And everyone gave me words of hope. They kept saying to me, have hope, have faith, she's gonna come home. And I wanted her to come home to my house in Elizabeth. So eventually they left. My children stayed behind, my sister too. And now it's Sunday morning. And the doctor came in at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he did his test. And he shook his head and he said, there's no change. She's not coming back. And he asked his permission to disconnect the respirator. I said to the doctor, you know, throughout the night, I touched her. I tickled the bottom of her right foot and she wiggled her toe. And at the moment, he sat down. And this man took time out of his busy schedule to explain to us how our body dies on the inside, how our organs start to shut down, even though we look perfectly fine on the outside. And he said it could be a matter of hours, it could be a matter of days. But Rosie was not coming back. She was going to die. So once we understood, we did the hardest thing we've ever done in our lives, my husband and I, and was to say, okay, to disconnect the respirator. I never even thought about saying okay to donation of the organs, which is something that I regret. The doctor then asked us to go to this other room, and at that time, I didn't even think to ask if we could stay in the room. So we followed his direction, and we went to the room he told us, and we were there for maybe 10 minutes, no more than 15. Then the nurse came and took us back to Rosie's room, and now the room was really quiet. She was now wrapped up in a white sheet. The nurses washed her face. You see, Rosemary, before the respirator was disconnected, you have to imagine this. She looked peaceful. She looked like she was asleep. Her eyes were closed, but her eyelids were black from the bruising. She had a piece of flesh that was missing from her left temple, and it was a little bit of blood. She had been bleeding from her mouth, her ears, and her nose. And she had hairline fractures to the back of her head, and they were bleeding too. But the nurses had washed her up. And she looked so peaceful. Before the doctor disconnected the respirator, my husband and I said goodbye to her. He gave us time to say goodbye. And it was so sad. I told her to go towards the light, that God would be on the other side, and he would take care of her. I told her that I loved her. And at that moment, it's like I thought about everything that I've done in my life, and was there anything that I could have done different? But I didn't have any answers. So I kissed her for the last time, and so did her brother and sister and her father. And then that's when we went to the other room. So when the nurse took us back to her room, she was no longer hooked up to any machine. She was wrapped up in that white sheet. She looked like she was inside of a white calla lily, those flowers that you see mostly around Easter time. At that moment, I took out my wallet because it had pictures. And I asked the nurse that was there if she could let me borrow her scissors. Rosemary had very long hair. In her short years of life, I had cut her hair 3 times, and her hair was like really long again. It just grew. The nurse gave me her scissors, and I cut a lock of her hair. I showed the nurses that were in the room her pictures, and I have to tell you that they were crying. They were crying because they couldn't save someone, even though they did their best. They just couldn't save. Her injuries were too severe. Then we had to leave her in that room. We wanted to bring her home, but we couldn't. We were not allowed. We were told that we have to make funeral arrangements. We were also told that maybe there would be no autopsy because she was hit by a car. So we leave the hospital. We're in the parking lot, and the day of her death, it was raining. And I told my husband, you know, the angels are crying because Rosie died. And at that moment, he said to me, I can't bury her. I can't put her in the ground. I want to put her in a glass case and I want to keep her home. I just can't bury her. I understood what he was saying. And at that moment, I said to him, you know, Thursday night, you were working late and I watched the movie with the children. And I don't know if any of you know this movie because it's so old. It's called Ghost. Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore were the actors in this movie. There's a particular scene in this movie where Sam is a victim of a crime. He's shot and killed. Somebody tried to steal his wallet. And he's chasing the thief, and he gets shot. And then he turns around because he couldn't catch the thief. And when he turns around, he sees his girlfriend holding his dead body, and he realizes that he's a ghost. That's why the movie's called Ghost. In this particular scene, through the course of the movie, Sam, the ghost, is walking behind his girlfriend in her apartment, and they have a cat, and the cat hisses because the cat realizes that there's a presence there. She couldn't see him, although she turns around and she says, Sam, he's right there, but she couldn't see him. My daughter was paying attention to that movie because right after that scene, she turned to me and she said, Mommy, if I die, will Harry be afraid of me? Harry was our cat. And I said, no, you're a little kid and you're gonna grow up to be an old lady. And then she said, but if I die, don't put me in the ground because I'm scared. Put me in a little house with all my toys so I could come back to play with them. So when I told my husband this is what she said, he knew exactly what to do. He said, we're not going to put her in the ground. We're going to get a mausoleum. So we left the hospital parking lot. We drove to the intersection, and it was raining. And there was some of her personal property was still on the ground, and I couldn't understand why nobody took it because there were so many people there. He found one of her gold earrings on the ground. And Rosemary was a Brownie Girl Scout, and she had earned badges the night before she was hit by the car because Girl Scouts was on Friday nights. And the badges must have fallen off her coat when she got hit by the car because they were on the ground. She also loved to chew gum. So the sticks of gum that she had not finished chewing, they were still on the ground. I picked them up. Believe it or not, I'm still holding on to those sticks of gum. The Girl Scout badges, I took them home. I even took the yellow tape that said caution from the police department and rolled it up. And I washed the Girl Scout badges, took away, you know, all the sand, and then I sewed it in her sash. When we were home, a lot of people showed up. I had to look for the dress that she was going to wear on her last journey, and it was difficult. And the people kept coming. And then my cousins came down and said that they had their father at a particular funeral home. And she said, would you like to have Rosie there? And it was true. How could you split the family? So we said yes. When I went to the funeral home to pick the casket, you have a casket right here. It was similar to, it was actually like that, except that the top was all one piece, not two. And it was gray in color with pinkish on it. I call it the gray pinkish shimmering. The interior, the inside was pink with embroidered flowers. And that's the one that we picked. I told the funeral director as soon as he had her body to call me because I wanted to dress her. And he permitted me to do that. When we got the call, I took the bag with the clothes. And when we got there, he says, please give me the bag. I'd like to put her undergarments. I didn't ask why. Back then, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I just gave him the bag. Once he called us into the room, she was already in the casket, and it was dressing as if we were dressing a Barbie doll because, you know, she really wasn't that flexible now. She was cold. And we dressed her. It was really hard. When I picked up the back of her head to comb her hair is when I realized they did the autopsy, and it was really painful to know. And then I knew why the funeral director asked me for the bag with all her clothes. Since he put on her undergarments, he didn't want us to see the cut. Some of you probably have seen that in movies. It's so different when it's your own, when it's somebody that you know. It's so difficult to see that. If it's a stranger, it doesn't hurt as much, but it hurts when it's your own. So we dressed her. The funeral was in 2 days. My uncle's service was on a Wednesday, and Rosemary's was on a Thursday because they both went to 2 different cemeteries. Rosie is in Colonia, St. Gertrude Cemetery. She's in a mausoleum. Letter G, 13th row. And believe it or not, I now own real estate at that cemetery. I now have a mausoleum for me when I go. I call it my condo. And you probably think it's kind of weird, but these are things that you do after something like that happens. So that's where I'll go. It was really tough to say goodbye to her. When I kissed her for the last time and watched the funeral director close that casket, I didn't want to live. I wanted to die. I kept thinking, what if she doesn't make it to the light? What if she's lost? Because I thought about the movies that I saw. So if I had died as her mother, I would find her and I would protect her. And my husband was thinking the same way. But God has his ways, and he kept us both. Then when we're in front of the church and I could see, back then I had 4 brothers, and my husband also had 4 brothers. We both came from large families. So her 8 uncles were carrying her casket. And the car was stopped in front of the church. My husband was out. He had the door open. My son had come out, and my husband said, come on, we can't miss the service. And I have to tell you that I didn't have the strength to get up. It was just one of those things I couldn't get up. So he said, if you don't get up, we're going to miss the service, and we really can't. So I made the effort, and I stepped out of the car. And as soon as I stepped out of the car, I smelled her. I smelled this very beautiful scent, and I knew in my heart that Rosie was there. Somehow God allowed her to be there to give me the strength so I could finish the day. And then I hope that you could believe me, because this is my experience. I kept smelling that same scent for the next 5 years. It wasn't every day. Sometimes it would go a week or even longer. But when I was saddest the most, I would smell that scent. So I'm really privileged that I was able to do that for 5 years, and I miss it. I couldn't get her back. God took her back. He gave her to me for 8 years, and I treasure those memories, treasure those years. But he took her back. The driver that was driving that car was not a bad man. He was a family man. At that time, he was 42 years old. He had a wife, and he had 4 children, and he had a mortgage. Because I heard one of you say you wanted to have the experience of a mortgage. I hope you do get it. It's tough, but I hope you get it. And so that particular day, he was looking to do something really nice for his family. His older son, a young man in his early 20s, was getting married. So this father went to 2 restaurants in Newark. Then he went to the 3rd restaurant in Hillside. And now he was going to the 4th restaurant in Elizabeth. He was looking for a place to have a bachelor party for his son. So he was looking for the best price, the place where he could afford. He came upon 4 people crossing the street, an old man and 3 children, my uncle, his 2 grandchildren, and my daughter. They saw the car coming. They thought they had enough time to cross the street, but they were struck by the vehicle. My uncle and my daughter were thrown 72 feet forward. My uncle went to the left side, my daughter went to the right side. The driver continued for another 72 feet, and he came to a full stop. My uncle hit the windshield in front of the driver, and it was like all cracked, and there was a big dent, but the driver was okay. He was not injured. The right front fender was dented because that's what hit my daughter. My two little cousins survived, the 10-year-old girl and the 2-year-old boy. Even though they lived right above me, I've never asked the 10-year-old to tell me what she remembered because as a mom, I knew the poor child was also traumatized. She saw her grandfather and her cousin died. So I didn't ask her. The driver was placed under arrest. His bail was $25,000. His wife paid it and he went home on Monday. His BAC was .10. Back then, 10 was legal intoxication, but right now, we are found drunker, quicker, with less alcohol. The BAC is 08. And when the prosecutor's office was ready, they took the case to grand jury. The grand jury indicted him. And then they offered him a plea. He turned down the plea because the plea was punishment to go to state prison. So he didn't want to go to prison. So 2 years later, we go to trial, and it's in the anniversary month. And it was really tough because it was in that week as well. The jury found him guilty, and that day his bail was revoked, and he was incarcerated in the county jail. We came back 6 weeks later to the same courtroom for the sentencing, and I had been waiting to hear him say that he was sorry. He thought there was an accident. He didn't mean it. I know in my heart he didn't mean it, but it was so important for me to hear him say that he was sorry that 2 people died. And when the judge asked him if he had anything to say, he chose not to say anything. So that kind of like broke my heart. I asked the judge to put him in prison for a very long time. I wanted him to go to prison for 8 years. The prosecutor said it's not going to happen, but we'll do our best. The judge gave him 7 years in a New Jersey state prison, but he didn't say mandatory time. So I basically asked the judge during my victim impact statement to put in prison for a long time, and I told him how much I missed my daughter and how much I loved her, and a bunch of other things that I don't remember, but I know that I made the people on my side cry because my husband and my cousin didn't want to speak after I spoke. I had her picture, which was a small frame of that, but I forgot to take it, left it on the seat, so I didn't show the judge. But I had written him a letter prior to the sentence, and I did send him a picture of her. 7 years. 9 months after, it was really tough to see his family cry when he was taken away in handcuffs. It was really sad. It wasn't their fault. He was the only one who was at fault. About 9 months later, I called the county jail. I wanted to know what prison he had gone to, and the officers didn't know, but they gave me a number to call, and I called that number, and they gave me the prison where he was. He was at Mid-State Correctional Facility in Hightstown. So I called the prison, and the people were really nice. They said to me, Mrs. Estevez, he's already eligible to be released. And I panicked. I said, how could that be? It's only 9 months. He was given 7 years. The prosecutor told me he has to do 2/3. I don't think 2/3 is 9 months. I didn't do the math, but I think it would have to be more. So I called the prosecutor's office, and I spoke with the victim witness coordinator, and she says, Maria, relax. We're going to hook you up with the state parole board, and you choose to either write a letter or go in person. So I went in person and met with these 3 members, and I begged them to not let him go, and it worked. He was not released. A year later, I did the same thing, and again, he was not released. They told me that there would be no more hearings. He would now max out. But what I did was keep him in prison. I wanted him to do the 7 years. But back then, nobody did that long because it used to be called death by auto, and the law wasn't as strong as it is now. Today, everybody does a lot more time. So he maxed out. He served 4 years and 8 months. Can you imagine? 4 years and 8 months in a prison without your family. must be devastating, so I don't recommend that to anyone. I didn't hate him, and I don't hate him. I've never learned how to hate. I walk away from situations that are bad or people who hurt my feelings, so I don't hate him. But I have to tell you that it still hurts that he didn't say that he was sorry. I knew in my heart he didn't mean to injure or kill anyone, but I wish he had said it. I'm glad that he's gone on with his life. He served this time. He was released December 23rd of 1997. This happened in 1991. Tomorrow will be Rosemary's 27th anniversary of her death, which is really sad. I am going to do my best to celebrate her life and not her death. I thought that I would do better, but I usually get emotional around this time. And they say that time heals all wounds. Time helps you to live with your loss. It doesn't heal. It just helps you to live with the memories and the things that you cannot change. I wish I still had my daughter. She would have been a woman. Maybe a mother, I don't know. My younger daughter, who was 4, is now 31. She's married and she gave me 2 grandchildren, a boy age 7 and a little girl age 4. So I could tell you that God gives and he takes and then he gives back somehow. But all of you, through your experience of yesterday and today and all the letters that you've had to write, the 18 students, and all of you who have heard your friends read those letters, remember that you can make choices for yourself, and they all gave you that advice. And I know that you paid attention because the room was really quiet, so you were listening. You make the choices. We can tell you everything, but the choice is still yours. So make the right choices for yourselves. Don't ever get in a vehicle impaired. You're too young. You have to be 21, but we all know that sometimes we do drink before the age of 21. As passengers, if you get in a school bus or a tour bus or a car with your friends, make sure that your friend's not impaired, drugs or alcohol. You yourselves, don't ever drive under the influence. Wear your seatbelts. Don't use the cell phone because distractions do cause crashes and people do die. We just don't want you to ever lose your life or be the one that will be arrested and then go to prison for something that you did not mean to do. Some of you said all it takes is one split second. So you have the power to make those choices. I wish you the best in your lives. Don't ever forget to say I love you, even as busy as you are when you leave the door if your moms and dads are home, and give them a hug because, like many of you said, sometimes we just don't come back. We don't come home. And they have no idea how we felt. So take that time. Don't live in a rush, although all of us do rush. But make the right choices. Tell the people that matter to you how much you care. And live a good life. Thank you. So I'll take some of the tissues. You too. Thank you. To all of you who signed that thank you card for me and placed a gift in there, thank you. I love you all. Take care.
Thank you so much, Ms. Estevez. On behalf of the entire Trend Executive Board, we would like to thank the students and faculty who participated in this program, as well as the Watts Foundation and Paul Ippolito Memorial for their generous donations. In addition, thank you, GL, for your willingness to learn and participate. Finally, thank you to the Trend Executive Board. Annabella, Ben, Brianna, Caroline, Danny, Dom, Iman, Aaron, Evelyn, Gavin, Kelly, Lorenzo, Mike, Nicolette, and Riley. You all did a great job. The loss of life is devastating. While this is a simulation, tragedies affect more people than fathomable. We walked past students and staff in the hallway. unaware that all of whom have lost someone dear to them. Today we woke up knowing that we would see our friends and family later in the day. Unfortunately, this is a reality for some people. Remember these past few days. Carry them with you. Many of you are starting a new journey after high school, while others are filling the shoes of the seniors that stand here today. You're the leaders of this school. Before you pick up your phone or participate in any one of the activities we have witnessed over the past 48 hours, think. We all have the potential to impact someone else's life positively. However, we also have the potential to impact someone else's life negatively. Just as easy as it is to give, it is equally as easy to take. That is what makes life so fragile. Now, it's your turn to make a difference. Thank you, guys.